Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wright Park. Tonight, I am Ben Riley. I'll be your conductor and MC for the night for our Cowboy Band concert. So as we do with every start of the program, if you could please stand as you're able. Go ahead and direct your flag to our American flag on this one. We'll be playing the Star-Spangled Banner, followed by our Cowboy Band tradition with our state song, Home on the Range. Thank you once again for joining us on tonight. Got lots of clouds in the sky, nice little breeze, but at least we're not sweating a ton. Our first song for you tonight is called Night of the Dark Horse. The term dark horse originated in horse racing, describing an unknown entry, and also carries the connotation of an unknown or underdog in politics or sports. So composed in a lively 6/8 time and using a single brisk tempo throughout the entire song, it takes the listener on an energetic musical journey dedicated to the efforts of unlikely winners everywhere. Our next song is entitled after the official name of the Statue of Liberty, Liberty Enlightening the World. This is a patriotic fantasy that includes some of the most loved American melodies, including Yankee Doodle, Stars and Stripes, and many others. Changing pace for our next song, we're going to slow it down a little bit with the Hymn from Jupiter. So Jupiter Hymn refers to the soaring, majestic middle section of the fourth movement of the Planets by Holst. So written between 1914 and 1917 originally, it is a piece that is driven by the astrological, can't speak, associations of generosity, joy, and the abundance of life. So please enjoy Jupiter Hymn, arranged by Johann de May. This next one is a reference to a big historical event here in America back in the Civil War. So in the early years of the Civil War, Georgia was largely protected from military hostilities, leaving it free to ship arms and munitions, foods, and supplies to the Confederate troops on the battlefields to the northeast. It was the most important. It was the importance of this rail system that the importance of the rail system to the Confederates that prompted James Andrews, a Union spy from Kentucky, to attempt a daring effort to disrupt the 138-mile rail line connecting Atlanta and Chattanooga. This composition of the concert band is based on that fascinating event in American history. So here is Robert W. Smith's The Great Locomotive Chase. fun time to play. All right, up next, we need all of the kids in the audience to make their way up to the stage. It's time for our children's march. So we'll be playing Colonel Bogey for you. So if you make your way here, you'll grab some American flags from our friend Katie over here. She'll march you around the park while you carry around your flag, and feel free to keep the American flag afterwards. Colonel Bogey is our next piece, and it's a concert band standard. So this march by Kenneth Alker, it is rumored to have been inspired while the composer was on a golf course, and he heard another golfer whistle an interval of a descending minor third as a warning. So the composer then used that whistle as a basis of his melody. So here is Colonel Bogey once we get all the kids in the audience. Don't be shy to come on up, grab on a flag. All right, we all situated, ready to go, kids? Aye, aye, Captain. All right, here we go. All right, good job. Lots of marching around on that one. All right, up next, Softly Speaks the Night. Night is our next song, composed by Carol Britton Chambers, who is a current music faculty at Texas Lutheran University and the owner of Aspenwood Music. So our next piece, Softly Speaks the Night, is a beautiful ballad with graceful melodies and counter melodies all throughout. All right, now it's time for another Cowboy Band tradition of our distance concert. We're always interested to see who all shows up to our concerts. So if there's anybody here from Kansas that is not a Ford County resident, can you raise your hand? Raise your hand now. Awesome. Where are you all from? From Mulvane, okay. Mineola, okay. That's more on these ones. All right, then, stretching outward, anybody from not Kansas here? Anyone not from Kansas? Where are you from, kind sir? You're from North Carolina. He's my brother, so I kind of knew he was already here. I know, I knew. So I didn't know there was a tough race for today for North Carolina. All right, our next piece is called Pevensey Castle. So Pevensey Castle's impressive ruins stand on what was once the peninsula protecting from the Sussex coast. This is a naturally defensible site, first fortified by the Romans, was most famously placed where the Norman conquest of England began, and when William the Conqueror landed there September 28th, 1066. Long time ago. Our next song, highlights from the musical Wicked. So the musical Wicked quickly became a Broadway favorite after first premiering back in 2003. The original Broadway production won 3 Tony Awards and 6 Drama Desk Awards. And then the original cast album received a Grammy Award. And now Wicked's even been made into 2 full-length movies. So our next tune, highlights from the Wicked, includes No One Mourns the Wicked, I'm Not That Girl, Defying Gravity, No Good Deed, and For Good. All right, we're staying in the land of Oz for our next tune, as it's featured in The Wiz this time. So Ease On Down the Road has been featured many different times during its musical life, but one of the most famous ones is from 1978 when Michael Jackson was featured as the Scarecrow in the movie The Wiz. So here is Ease On Down the Road. Very catchy tune. Always a catchy one that gets stuck in my ear. Before we play our last piece for the night, I just wanted to give you all a heads up for a special event that we're having next month. Next month for us, we're going to be doing a family night for Cowboy Band. So on our concert, it's going to be July 21st. So we're trying to have all sorts of different activities out here. We already have a bouncy castle reserved and things like that. So we're looking for bouncy castles. We'll have different activities, some snacks. So make sure to spread the word. That's July 21st. Come out to our concert. We'll have that all set up beforehand so you can enjoy all the festivities, and then we'll still start our concert at 7:30 that night. So on these ones. So once again, do us a favor, spread the word, bring all your families for that night, July 21st. July 21st. So, all right, so to end our concert we'll be ending with a piece called Banners on Parade. So Stephen Bulla opens with You're a Grand Old Flag, followed by the Hurrah for the Flag of the Free and trio section of the Stars and Stripes Forever. You're going to be hearing that a lot this year as we celebrate the 250th of America. And, of course, it finishes with a toe-tapping rendition of Yankee Doodle. All right, thank you for coming out for tonight. That concludes our concert. So thanks for bearing with the weather with us for tonight, and we hope you have a wonderful week, and see you again next week for our next concert.